Does that okay mean we can go?
Nope.
Okay.
Almost there.
All right.
Nope. Almost there. All right.
Why do I
Hey,
hear a
we
delayed
got
echo
the,
feedback?
we got the loop.
Yep, I shut it off.
Oh, good.
Okay, we're good to go.
Okay, good. Let's see here.
That was fancy.
Oh, that was. Well, let's call this meeting to order. And the first order of business then is to approve the minutes for the July 13th meeting.
I move we approve.
Who can second?
Second.
Deb is seconding.
Okay,
Randy?
all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right,
None.
that's
Good.
passed.
Let's move to staff report, Jack.
Sorry about that. Thank you. A couple of things, as the mayor has indicated, Connor we did have a application for planning and zoning commissioner on file. So it looks like if the board approves, mayor will have someone next week to appoint. So we'll be back to full staff for the next meeting. Connor sat as the vice chair, so we will have to have new elections for vice chair and any other positions that come up through that so that we have it in place. So we'll have to get that stuff ready. From this point forward, till further notice, we'll be doing Zoom meetings again. We will notify you if it's going to be a mixed meeting, where you will be able to come to City Hall. Until we get through this little secondary or third time or whatever it is, fourth time knot hole with the health order stuff, we're just going to be as exceedingly cautious as we can. I haven't looked today or this week, but last week, by last Thursday, we had 37 single family home permits. And the cabins pulled their permits. So when it came in, because it's 4 separate buildings, we did 4 separate permits on our system so that we can properly make sure the inspections for each building are occurring properly. Although it's one project, it's 4 building permits. So that kind of skewed the numbers a little bit. So it shows we have 7, but that's really just 4 because the 4 buildings at the Herzog Foundation are, it's one project. So that's where we're at on those numbers. As it relates to development, they were very close to passing the proof roll up at the Eagle Ridge project by the high school till the rain today. So they'll have to rework some stuff. The moisture that we've had in the past 6-8 weeks has caused a lot of problems for getting that soil compacted properly. So they aren't able to do it. The same thing is applicable at First Park. They are still having rain issues that's caused them issues. The medical marijuana facility is under construction, and it is an amazing sight of what they're doing. They are over digging the entire foundation footprint, 6 foot deep, the entire thing, and then coming back and recompacting it all. And that building's about, I don't know, it's 82,000 square feet. So I don't know, 600 foot long by 300 foot wide, however that maths out, I don't remember. So it's a very big area. So they'll be working on that for some time. And I don't anticipate anything significant. We did get the first submittal, and they are shooting for next month to get a new commercial retail business park subdivision. It's not really new. It's at the existing Smithville Business Park or Stewart Commercial Park, excuse me, where the post office is. Someone's looking at putting 3 lots around the post office area. And they are working to get that together in time to get it submitted for the September Planning Commission meeting. And we'll see where that ultimately rolls out. I've been hearing that a couple of other things are going to be coming soon, but I haven't seen any formal applications. I will also remind you all of the subdivision up off of Spellman behind Manzanola there, Diamond Creek. That property is sold and a new developer is coming in to pay for the permits to start work on it. They've indicated that if everything goes well on their construction and work up there, they anticipate March of next year coming in with phase 2 and may try to bring forth stuff related to the old Weatherstone portions of the plat. If you look on the GIS, you'll see a whole bunch of lots out in the middle of the field. That was where a final plat was recorded with no bond in place to force the construction of the utilities. So the lots were recorded, but you can't build on them or anything. So, but they will be able to come in and redo that rather quickly. It won't likely come before you all, but it will go to the board for final approval. Just like any other final plat that comes in, if it's part of a major subdivision or you have multiple phases, once you guys approve it, as long as they submit something that matches exactly what you approved, then it goes to the board and we're done. So I think that's all we've got going on, other than continuing to work on comprehensive plan update stuff for the code, et cetera. And we're making progress on that. I anticipate the November meeting I'll give you, which is 1 year anniversary of the adoption. I'll give you a full report of where we are, what we've done so far on all levels. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Jack. Any questions for staff? Okay, let's move to the continuation Kylie Acres final plat.
If I may,
yes,
real quick,
go
we
ahead.
had the public hearing 2 months ago and then continue it because of some issues with the developer. We had to work out on certain aspects of it. No one spoke at it for or against it. So you're limited to the information that's in the staff report. It's basically dividing a 63-acre tract that came before you or this commission several years ago to do 22 or 23 lots with a road extension. The owner of the land has decided to sell off 10 acres instead, and he'll keep his house on the back 53. Went through that with the Public Works Director, Chuck Souls, and asked to verify what, if any, extra offsite improvements or any improvements that would be needed. A couple of clarifications for y'all. It's not on city water. It's on county water. There's frontage available for all the lots on an existing street, and it's at simply one lot. So there were no other improvements required or requested from the Public Works Department. This will match what's out there already. The lot size is 10 acres because if it was less than 10 acres, you would have to come in for a rezone. So they and apparently it's ready to sell as soon as there's an approval. So as you can see in the staff report, we recommended approval.
Okay. Thank you. So that we can initiate a discussion on this, can we hear a motion to approve this final plat? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear. I can hear you anyway.
Can everyone hear me? Sounded
I
like
can-
it was dead air.
I can hear you
Yeah,
now.
we can hear you.
Oh,
So moved.
Okay. Okay. Is there a second?
Second,
Okay. Discussion. No discussion. Let's go to a vote. Brandy,
Okay, Alderman Chevalier,
Aye.
Carmen,
Yes.
Rand,
aye.
Deb,
aye.
Mayor Boley,
Aye.
Dennis.
Aye.
6-0.
Okay, let's go to the site plan ordinance revisions. Jack, do you want to give us a little background on that?
Yes, two main issues that brought this about. Part of it is addressed in the comprehensive plan that we need to update some of these things, or at least review them and update them. So with what happened with the Herzog cabins conversation and the dispute we had with them, in part, I believe it was related to some ambiguities in our ordinance. So I've taken the liberty to eliminate all those ambiguities so that there's no real question as to what the development's responsibility is when it comes to these things. Who pays for what, whether it's the city taxpayers or it's the development. So we clarified those items. And then the second item is we fully anticipate we will start having more and more R3 projects coming forward. And there was no specific mechanism for either board or commission review in place. It was simply staff handled the review process if someone submitted those applications, unless they were going to do a plat. If they were not going to do a plat or a rezoning, they wouldn't have to do anything. They would come to staff and we would do that to eliminate that scenario where it's just staff reviewing and approving such a big project. My suggestion in the ordinance you see before you is to add R3 zoned property. Any building on an R3 zoned property would have to come through planning commission in the site development process. And then in those, we can address all of the issues that we normally and would be addressing through us, but we can have a board review it or a commission review it, make a recommendation, and then send it to the board for final approval. A couple of the extra loops that we put in there is that as a result of the ambiguity issue we had on the last one that went through, we clarified that the park fees per dwelling unit would apply in either the site plan review process or under the platting process if they were going to go through a platting procedure. But if they don't go through a platting procedure, we wanted to make sure that those fees were being paid. Another thing that the comprehensive plan highlights is a need that we have to clean that up. So we identified the main materials that we're dealing with: materials, the lighting, the ingress and egress, depending on how many units there may be off-site improvements necessary, turn lanes, and that kind of stuff. This gives us the procedure to do all that. In order to make it a little cleaner, if you look at the entire ordinance, there's a whole bunch of pages with not many significant changes on it. And those are simply to update the code with changes that have occurred many, many years ago. My title is the development director. It has been since 2015, I think. This code was before that and said the community development director. And we also took out the development director reference and put in the development review committee, which is an internal staff related group that meets. It includes the fire chief, with the fire district, the public works, the streets department, the utilities superintendent, myself, and usually the two inspectors for the utilities department. So we meet and discuss all of the aspects of it. That's basically what this does. You should have the red line version that shows you what we're taking out, what we're adding in, etc. And I'd sent it to you shortly after the last meeting when we discussed that this would be coming. Asked for comments and the like, and I will indicate that Deb did bring forth a couple of issues to me to bring forth for discussion, and I will leave those up to Deb. No one else provided comments one way or the other on things they'd like to see or they'd like to discuss. So at this point, I'll leave it to Deb to bring forth her discussion points.
Go ahead, Deb.
We pretty much discussed it, Jack, between you and I really was satisfied with what you told me. One of the things that I wanted to address, though, was in landscaping with invasive species. The state of Missouri is having a terrible time trying to find the funds to get rid of invasive species, Callery pear, burning bush, autumn olive, things like that. And it just seems to me that the responsible thing to do would be to strongly encourage developers and landscapers to at least check with the Missouri Department of Conservation to see if their landscape plans follow along with their guidelines. I don't know, many of you probably don't know that my native state is Florida. And Florida is overrun with just about everything that wants to eat you, bite you, or tear up your lawn. And the trees and things like that, none of them are, there's hardly any native species left. And it's because of native. Now, Missouri is my adopted home, and I would really hate to see that kind of thing happen here too. And unfortunately, every spring you see all these, what everybody thinks are these gorgeous flowered trees out there. It is the Callery pear that has invaded and taken over and destroying habitat. So that was one of my big concerns. But pretty much Jack and I discussed everything else, so I really don't have anything else to add to that. Maybe dark sky, but.
And that's certainly an issue that can be rediscussed. I provided Deb with a background on the lighting stuff we had. When we redid this, when we created the site development regulations and the site plan review process to kind of a more modern version like we have now, that was a very long, multiple conversation over multiple meetings at the planning commission level about the dark sky, creating a dark sky ordinance, requiring everything to be dark sky compliant as it related to our natural habitat and et cetera. And there were a very vibrant conversation, but when it got right down to the vote, it was a 6-1 vote at the planning commission level to not include that, and it was based upon the cost associated with dark sky.
Yeah, there is a cost involved. As far as the dark sky is concerned, for around here, I think that ship has sailed. You know, it's pretty much already too late. But one of the, like I said, the thing I was most concerned about was the landscaping thing and trying to encourage native species in landscaping rather than invasives. Because in the end, all of us taxpayers are going to be paying for what the state has to do to get rid of it.
Sure.
Good points. Okay, at this point then, do we need a motion for approval to send it up to the board, Jack?
Yeah, a motion. I will draft a statement on behalf of this commission to the board related to the issues. Basically, what the code requires is that you all tell the board that these are good changes, they are necessary changes, and will be beneficial to all the districts that we have impacted in this, which is ultimately it only applies to commercial and R3, but the districts that are really impacted by these regulations are the residential areas surrounding them. That's what these are for, primarily to protect the residences around them from the impacts of the heavy density use, and then there's the aesthetic improvements. So I can draft something like that up, but if we get a motion to send it to the board, we'll do that for you. However,
Okay, well, let's get a motion to send it to the board then. Who will
I
do
move we
that?
send it to the board.
Who will second?
Second.
Thank you, Dennis. Randy, go ahead.
Discussion?
Oh,
Hello?
go ahead, Carmen. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Yes.
are we not voting for something that doesn't exist?
say that again.
Are we not voting for something that does not exist? It's yet to be authored. I mean, you're asking,
No, it was sent out in the packet.
no. I'm saying, you just mentioned you would author something on our behalf.
Yeah, it's basically a statement that this is in the best. I didn't put it in the packet, so ultimately that's where we sit. It recommends that you all make a certain findings. This is in the best interest of the community, that the districts infected are good, and then that would be benefited from this. And then the third thing it talks about, we can't answer because this doesn't impact any specific district over another. It covers all of them.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that everyone else knew that I was saying yes to something that has not been authored yet.
Okay. Is everyone comfortable with that?
You'll see when we vote.
Okay. Good call, Dennis. Go ahead, Brandy.
Deb,
Aye.
Mayor Boley,
Aye.
Dennis,
Aye.
Alderman Chevalier,
Aye.
Carmen.
No,
Was that a no?
that's correct.
Okay.
Yes, that's
And
no.
Rand,
Aye.
5-1.
This will go to the board next week. I found the irony of, was that a no? And you said yes, and then it was, who's on first?
I'm Gemini.
Yeah.
I'm a Gemini.
Yeah, kind of a who's on first. What? Yeah, I don't know. So that's all we have. The draft ordinance that you had will be cleaned up by taking out all the red marks and the red line version, and it will be submitted to the board for next week.
The board may have their own recommendations regarding that too, correct?
The board certainly has the ability to make recommendations to change the language.
Okay.
All right. Is there any other business before we adjourn?
Yeah, I have something.
Go ahead, Carmen.
In lieu of the announcement that we have a resignation, I would like to encourage the mayor and my peers on this board to not automatically assume that the next one in line is a given. I would like to, number one, thank the mayor for his appointment for me on this wonderful, prestigious board. And it was the beginning of an effort toward diversity. I think we need more people that look like me, not necessarily my gender, but I'd like to see Smithville make an effort to diverse this particular board and all the other boards for that matter, because there are qualified people here of color. And I'm sure they have another vision or a vision that's complementary for a city that's soon to have urban situations. That's where we're headed. So I respectfully ask the mayor and this board and Jack, whoever else is involved in recruiting the next appointment, that we look for diversity.
I appreciate your comments, and I have, and I'll continue to keep our process where it's an open application. Unfortunately, we haven't had applicants for the position, so we're legally obligated to have this board, and I have to fill seats with applicants that are qualified in interview. But definitely encourage people to send out the link. Anytime people even complain about any kind of zoning thing online, I send them the link to this application. So I agree with you. Please continue to share the link and encourage people to apply.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Mayor.
it's always better from our perspective to have a bunch of people in the waiting room trying to get on this board than not having people waiting and we're trying to track somebody down. Your
Thank you.
question brings forth something I forgot to mention, and that is we anticipate census data will be released to us in part on August 12th. And then they will formulate it in an easy to read fashion and send it out at the end of September. So we'll be looking at the raw data apparently starting on the 12th. There are multiple reasons for the importance of that. Number one is it will impact our reapportionment and redistricting of the wards and how that lays out. We met with the board last week and discussed those options, and the board has given us a path from the staff perspective on how to make that happen. The second aspect of it is this newer updated census will also give us, Carmen, a lot more information on the total number, not it doesn't even get to the census tract information broken down by race, but it gives us a better understanding of the level of diversity we have. And at that point in time, it gives us something to at least strive for. We know where we sit.
Excellent, Jack. Thank you.
So, okay, that's all I have.
Jack, would we have more wards then?
No, it'll be the same amount of wards. There will be more people in those wards.
Okay.
Currently, the average ward size is 2,810. With a anticipated population, the June 25th or July 25th, I'm going blank on the day, the new 2020 estimate came out, and it has our population at 11,011. So we're going to be at 3,600 and change people in the ideal district size. So we're going to be shooting to get close to that 3,670 or whatever it is.
Wow.
And that's assuming that the 11,011 is correct. It may not be. We don't know. I can always tell you this. Smithville has 2 counties that we're involved in. We've got land in Platte and Clay. And I know there's people that live in the Platte County house that's in our city limits. And the estimates that always come out every single year have 0 people living there. So they're estimates, so that's fine.
Appreciate that information, Jack. Is there anything else before we adjourn?
Yeah, the propriety of the question, I wanted to come under the word plans and zoning. Mayor, do we know the vaccination percentage for Smithville? That would influence census eventually, wouldn't it?
They don't provide us to the city. It's to the county. Clay County is at 46, I think, is where we sit.
Okay, thank you.
And there is a website that specifically lays out the county by county breakdowns. So you can, even though we may be at 46% in Clay County, we're also impacted by Platte and Clinton significantly, at least here in Smithville, because we have a lot of folks from those areas coming to counties.
Okay, anything else? Then can we get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank
All in
you.
We have to do
favor,
a voice,
Yep.
we have to do a voice
I
vote.
guess we better vote. Go
I'll-
ahead. Andy.
all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? We're adjourned.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you all.
Good night.
Everybody.
Good night, Deb.
Good night.
Yes,
Good to see you again.
good to see you too.
Good night.
Good night.